kick off today's episode, we need to talk about a little bit of something we were talking about on our last recording, and that's Juan Soto, who is having a bit of a rough week, Nika.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, he had a really rough weekend in the Bronx where he used to play, and then it did not get better for him on Monday morning. We were treated to an early edition of this from WFAN in New York Sports Radio. This is Boomer Esiason and Gio, his co-host on WFAN, and they are reacting to some of what they claim they heard on ESPN's Sunday night broadcast during the Subway Series finale on ESPN. Take it away, Nika.
Juan Soto just had a brutal 3 days. He could smile all he wants. He could take his helmet off and acknowledge the booze all he wants on Friday night. At the end of the day, it was a bad weekend for him. So now he and his family can get on the private jet and go up to Boston. That was
all
interesting.
right. Let's pause that really quick, Nika. That was a weird sentence that just got thrown in there at the end. He and his family can get on the private jet and go to Boston. That is false.
Claim it false. Second. Second
that is not something that is actually a part of Juan Soto's contract. He does not have a private jet. Neither does his family have a private jet to go and watch him play. Juan Soto travels with the team, as we're going to talk about in a second. But I just wanted to point that out because Boomer Esiason is a former player himself in the NFL, but he's still a former professional athlete and player, and I'm sure he wouldn't want these kinds of misleading statements made about himself or his family. So the fact that he's doing it to another fellow New York athlete, that just strikes me as a little bit off.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, he has more to say, and we'll have more to say about it. Let's continue.
Said that part of it yesterday. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I did, and I also heard Carl Ravitch talk about Juan Soto vehemently trying to back out of being mic'd up, that he was begging to get the microphone off of him.
Remember when the Yankees were saying, we're not going to give Juan Soto a suite because we don't give
All
our
right, let's pause again. All right, before he gets into this, so there is more to this story that we're going to read about in a second, but just to fill people in, if you don't watch Sunday Night Baseball, every second inning, I think, or third inning, I don't remember exactly when, in the beginning of the game, they will usually mic up somebody for a half inning and talk to them while they're playing in the field. And they had planned to do that with Juan Soto, and he decided to back out before the game started. And apparently the ESPN people were none too pleased about this.
Well, I can see why. They didn't have
they didn't have their marquee on-field interview.
They didn't have a plan B in place.
Look, I'm not a fan of these on-field interviews to begin with because I would really like the multi-million-dollar professional athlete to be constantly focused on the actual game at hand and not what some person is whispering into their ear in the middle of the game. But nevertheless, this is apparently a thing that, like, if you back out of it, you're weak or you're not doing part of your job or something. I don't know.
So wait, being mic'd up is part of the baseball player job now?
I don't know if it is or not. I'm just saying, like, it feels like he's being made that he's not doing his job by not doing it. I would say, like, ESPN doesn't have a right to interview any player that doesn't want to be interviewed during the middle of a game if they don't want to be.
Imagine if that happens to your work. Somebody sucks a microphone when you have to do brain surgery.
A lot of people think this is fun or something for the players to do. I think it's probably anything but. You know, the last thing any of them wants to do is make a mistake while the entire world is watching and focused on them.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's carry on here from our good friends at WFAN.
Of our player suites. Who knew that Juan Soto was getting a private jet on top of all of this to away
Doubling
games?
down.
The point being is that if Juan Soto is putting up huge numbers and Juan Soto's coming through,
nobody cares.
Nobody really cares about that. But then all of a sudden, when that doesn't happen, and then somebody else is coming for a contract extension, and the Mets treat that guy like crap compared to what that guy thinks that Juan Soto has. That's where the schism
spot
happens, right?
Yeah,
so,
no, I know.
I mean, I almost fell off my chair last night when I heard Ravitch say that, because I knew that he got in a suite. I had no idea that he had gotten a private jet charter.
That was it.
That's amazing that he not only doubled down, he tripled down on this. Like, he brought up the suite. Now, if you don't know, apparently Juan Soto asked the Yankees if he could have a suite for his family for all of the home games.
You're talking those skyboxes.
A skybox for the Soto family, basically, for every home game, and the Yankees refused.
Really?
Yeah, that's the word on the street, is that Juan Soto was seeking this, and so I think that was a little jab there about the suite, on top of this.
But that's a huge difference between a plane and a skybox.
It is, and it's like he's almost implying here that he's got the suite and the plane, and we've established that the plane is BS.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't a true story. This is misinformation being spread far and wide on WFAN by a former professional athlete himself, Boomer Esiason. So this is just really about as bottom of the barrel as it gets for journalism in 2025.
No
And
kidding.
if you ever wonder how misinformation spreads so quickly, well, here
There
you
you
go.
go.
Boomer. Boom. Boomer went boom.
Boomer goes boom.
He did. Boomer went boom, and you pointed it out. The one thing that he was right about was, like, no one would give a crap about any of this if Juan Soto had just gone out there and even went 3 for 10 instead of 1 for 10.
Yes.
But the end of
Nobody
the day,
cared.
he did not. Everyone wants to talk about how he went 1 for 10.
It's East Coast media. They will pick and they will scrutinize about everything you do under a microscope.
Well, look, we talked about this already on Monday on our previous recording, and we posted an episode about Juan Soto specifically because he got outperformed by Cody Bellinger this past weekend. This was not unknown. What was, I guess, revelations or information to me was the plane thing, which turned out to be untrue. And I think when you're just looking at how much pressure there is already on this guy to play in New York, live up to the money, he's never going to. I don't know.
They will be poking holes in every single thing he does if he doesn't perform at the top notch that he can do.
It makes you wonder psychologically if more players should do what Ohtani did and defer as much money as possible, only because you can't see it.
Maybe
he only gets the $2 million every year, even though he's getting $70 million a year. He only touches $2 million of it. Yeah, he has other sponsorships and he has a lot more money. We're going to talk about Mr. Ohtani coming up in 1 second, but let's keep it here on Juan Soto.
Juan Soto would never defer all his money.
No, we knew that, and he has Boris, and he was not. But
totally different situation. Yes.
Well, luckily for Juan Soto, he does have some credible journalists still in his corner, and one of those was Jeff Passan from ESPN, our old good friend. We've talked about him here on our show before. He tweeted this out 5 hours after the WFAN tweet went out into the universe. He wrote, "To clear up what others have asserted, Juan Soto does not fly separately from his New York Mets teammates on a private jet. He flies on the team plane. There is no private jet provision in his contract for him or his family."
Okay.
So
thanks for clarifying.
Jeff Passan clears that up. ESPN reporter, kind of ironic that he was coming to the bat of ESPN, which is where this rumor, I guess, originated, according to Boomer Esiason. I still have yet to hear it. I know Nika has yet to hear it. I haven't heard the original broadcast where this claim was made.
We don't know.
Now, we do know that the claim about him skipping out on this on-field interview is true.
Yes.
And that's because an article went up on Monday morning from NJ Advanced Media by Bob Clappish. And while that article is under a paywall, our good friends Yard Barker and Zach Wasink decided to summarize that article for us which is not behind a paywall, so we can still read some of the juicy nuggets from that article. And so we've decided to screen capture that and share that with you here. Nika, do you have the headline up?
Mm-hmm.
It says, Monday morning, why Mets are reportedly concerned, quote, about Juan Soto after Yankees series. And we're going to get into it here. Here's the first page. And as you can see, this was posted actually on, I think this was first posted on Monday morning, but it was updated Tuesday it was updated.
Okay.
All right, it says New York Mets outfielder Juan Soto generating more boos than RBI, 0, goose egg. During a 3-game series at the New York Yankees did little to quiet chatter about how he is and or isn't fitting in with the Mets this spring. For an article published on Monday, Bob Klapisch of NJ Advance Media revealed that sports talk radio personalities and fans aren't the only people who have noticed that Soto hasn't looked like the happiest of generational talents over his first 2 months of his Mets tenure. All right, if we go on here, it says, quote, I'm told they're concerned about Soto's lack of enthusiasm for his new team, Klapisch said about what he referred to as, quote, the Mets' hierarchy. Klapisch also pointed out that, quote, the only time Soto seemed happy this weekend was while he interacted with Yankees captain Aaron Judge, second baseman Jazz Chisholm Jr., and manager Aaron Boone in the Bronx. All right, I'm going to stop here for 1 second and just go over a couple things that we just read. But the biggest thing is that, Juan Soto's body language sometimes can leave a little bit to be desired. Sure. And so, and I've seen him, interact with the media in post games and stuff, and he doesn't come across as like, I want to be here at all. He comes across as the opposite.
He wants to get out as fast as he can.
Yeah, he doesn't want to say anything and doesn't want to talk to the media. I don't think he likes that part of the job at all.
Not everybody
but it's a
does.
big part of it. And when you want $750 million plus on top of it, you're gonna better expect to be have a microphone shoved in your face pretty much whenever anyone can.
That's true.
So let's just get that out of the way. But as you can see here, the Mets' hierarchy is in quotes, and that's who the source is for Bob Klapisch here in his article, which is being summarized again by Zach Wassink. So sorry for all the layers of tape here, but we're skirting around the paywall from NJ Advance Media. Mm-hmm. The Mets hierarchy is noticing, according to him, what everyone else is noticing, that he's not happy. So
okay,
he is apparently happy, though, to be spending time with his old Yankee teammates.
Well, based on one incident.
We don't really see him interacting with his Mets teammates at all.
True.
Like, I mean, we do, but we don't
Not
get
the
to
same.
see a majority of it, right? Like,
Right.
he flies the plane with them, as has been established by Jeff Passan. He does not travel separately with his family, so they hang out, and I can't just picture Juan Soto on the team plane sitting in a corner by himself being like mopey and being like, I don't want to talk to you guys, I miss Aaron Judge. No. I don't think that's what's happening here.
No.
And yet that's exactly how they make it seem like what's going on.
This is in high school. Come on.
All right, the article goes on. Before the Mets dropped 2 out of 3 games to the Yankees, Will Salmon of The Athletic insisted that Soto's teammates, quote, think he loves it here, and said that the slugger has simply been disappointed about the fact that he hasn't consistently performed, quote, at an elite level since he signed a 15-year, $765 million contract that could exceed $800 million total to join the Amazons this past off-season. And boy, oh boy, I love when journalism just goes and doubles down on words like elite. Like that's better than just being elite. What a time to be alive. I think that there's a lot being made about nothing here, and this was just somebody kind of taking advantage of the situation over the weekend, and the fact that it was in the old stomping grounds and there was old friends, and it was like, I'm gonna just put these things that are totally unrelated together and make them into a story.
Yeah.
All right. Against the Yankees, Soto went 1 for 10 with 4 walks. Per Manny Gomez of NJ Advanced Media for NJ.com, Soto failed to reach base safely across his final 6 plate appearances of the series. Salmon mentioned that Soto is currently in the middle of a slump that involves going 1 for 20 with runners in scoring position. And we've seen this kind of early season slump with Juan Soto before, back in 2023 with the Padres. Go look it up. We documented it here on this podcast. And why is there no criticism being directed at Mets management for the slow start and what they've been working with on Juan Soto and getting his average back up?
I don't know, but it's a very good question.
We saw no adjustments made during the April of 2023, and I don't know if they all didn't Juan Soto have his own hitting coach or something, or
I
don't remember the details, but
players like Soto like to be coached. They do need to be coached
and challenged.
Absolutely. They cannot just be left to their own devices and as magically everything's going to work out for them.
All right. Well, if you want to continue the article here, it said here that assuming Klappich is correct, it seems not everybody with Gosh, went one slide too far, everybody. It appears such numbers aren't the only reason the Mets are allegedly worried about Soto ahead of Memorial Day. Quote, he agreed to be mic'd up by ESPN in the second inning, but changed his mind minutes before the game, Klappich added about how Soto handled a Sunday Night Baseball broadcast request. Soto told Mets officials he was tired of answering questions about Aaron Judge, sick of explaining why he chose the Mets. The fact that Soto blew off the network was only the first sign of his darkening state of mind. The second was Soto's conduct after the Mets' 8-2 loss. Not only was he held hitless, the signature swag had vanished. So no Soto shuffle, I guess, this weekend in the Bronx. No swagger from the world's most expensive player.
He didn't have anything to swag about.
Yeah, I this is, again, like when you lose and when you're struggling, like I don't expect you to, be out there smiling and happy about that.
And all that. Right.
That might send an even worse message to some people in New York City.
Imagine if that happened and Soto was all flashy about it.
Yeah, why is he not in the batting cage at 4 a.m?
Oh, goodness.
And again, the whole mic'd up thing, I think, is just a bit of a ridiculous part that's been added into sports that we don't need as well. And so the fact that they're making a big deal about something that we really don't need is kind of humorous to me.
Yes.
All right. It goes on to say, Klappich also said that Soto avoided reporters after Sunday's defeat and has, quote, put on a few pounds around the middle, end quote. That's not the same stand-up guy who was always at his locker last season, Klappich continued. Even after being skewered on Friday, Soto spoke of the obligation to, quote, take it like a man. 2 days later, he was running for the exit. Those are some scathing words right there, Nika, from Bob Klappich about Juan Soto. And I'm really shocked that he even wrote, put on a few pounds around the middle. It's like, it's kind of a little bit of like, oh, you have all this money now. I guess you're letting yourself go. It kind of rubs a little bit like that.
It does. I wonder if they're going to direct the same questions to other players that don't make that much money. The Phillies come to mind with the jab Ozempic.
That's so true. Maybe Juan should look into Ozempic unless he wants to, get suspended.
He doesn't want.
Double check the ingredients, Juan, before you take. No, just kidding. I really, honestly haven't noticed Soto looking any different.
Me neither.
And we notice that stuff.
We do.
As someone that did drop some weight, I tend to look at that stuff a little bit, and just out of curiosity more than anything, like, oh, which player could benefit from going on a ketogenic diet like I did?
Or lose a few pounds around the middle.
Yeah, but Juan Soto's not the guy that jumps out to me with that. So, I'll look again, but I haven't seen it like that. Like we saw the fake Twitter pictures of like when people were making him look kind of like a
Big?
balloon a little bit, and while it is a little bit humorous, again, I haven't seen it in reality. All right, this article is just about done here. It says, over his first 46 games with the Mets, Soto slashed 246, 379, and 443 with an 822 OPS, 8 home runs, and 20 RBI. Needless to say, he thus far hasn't matched the value of his massive contract with his play. And all I'm just going to say here is that, we saw this with Soto in 2023 with the Padres. We just talked about it. He had a horrible April and came on and had a pretty normal season in the end. So I don't think there's anything too much different to read into this. I totally expect Soto's numbers to go up from here. I don't think he's going to stay at this level for the entire season.
I think this is just being impatient. The journalists and the fandom is just impatient.
Yeah, everybody wants it to be instantaneous gratification. And, baseball is a roller coaster ride, and it doesn't start great for everybody all the time. It doesn't mean it won't end great. It doesn't.
Exactly.
It has nothing to do with it. And if Soto's career numbers are to be believed, it is going to get better for him. All right. It says, per MLB insider Andy Martino of SNY, outfielder and designated hitter Starling Marte, quote, has proven invaluable during Soto's transition from the business-like Yankees to the vibey Mets. The two have known one another since Soto made his way through the minor league system, and Martino explained that, quote, folks in the Mets organization believe that Soto has made significant progress settling in, smiling more of late, and getting closer to the theatrical flow that has long made him the most exciting hitter in baseball. I think people should not be focused on these things and just let the man be. Like, I don't know. This is bordering on character assassination a little bit here. It's like, you took all this money, smile. Like, you
have these. You have to check certain boxes because you have that much money now.
Let's let it get there, like let's let him get through at least to the All-Star break before we start, questioning things a little bit. Again, because this is the media that pushed for him to become the most expensive player of all time and wanted this bidding war to be going over him so that it created juicy, sensationalist headlines for them. It seems a little bit hypocritical to, like, stick the knife in the back this quickly into a season. Nevertheless, it says, assuming Clappish is correct, it seems not everybody within the Mets is convinced Soto isn't having some regrets about leaving the Bronx Bombers for the Mets after he helped the Yankees make a trip to the 2024 World Series. So that is the first article that went up on Monday. And again, it was updated on Tuesday, but I thought it was interesting for a couple notes. One is that apparently there's unnamed sources inside of the Mets in the, what was it called? The hierarchy. So that could be a lot of places on the food chain, right, Nika?
Yes, absolutely.
Someone in the hierarchy is speaking off the record to Bob Clappish about what they perceive to be body language issues with Juan Soto, I guess, when it comes to his happiness factor. And
do they ask him, which smiley face are you feeling today?
Yeah, again, this is like, I would never, as an agent, encourage my clients to always seek the most money. Like I would definitely not want them to undervalue themselves or anything of that nature. But if you were talking about a difference of $15 million and whether or not I thought you should hit behind Aaron Judge or in front of Aaron Judge for the rest of the rest of his career, or, Francisco Lindor and maybe Pete Alonso, I would have taken door number one and taken Aaron Judge. And so I can certainly understand Juan Soto having a little bit of buyer's remorse at this time, but at the same time, if I'm working in the Mets organization, I'm probably really pissed off about that.
Of course.
Well, this trickled in because Juan Soto went 1 for 4 on Monday night, and let's hear about it. It's still early. Well, let's read the headline first. Do you have the headline
Yes,
up?
I do.
This is the second article. This was also posted on Tuesday, but it was not updated Tuesday. It says, Mets' Carlos Mendoza breaks silence after disagreement with Juan Soto. What's this disagreement about, Nika?
I don't know.
All right. This was written by Athlon Sports by Josh Valdez, and I clipped it again from Yard Barker, sorry.
Barker.
All right. It says here, it's still early, but Juan Soto's slow start with the New York Mets is one of baseball's hottest topics. Yes, it is. This is our second video this week about it, Nika. The 26-year-old who signed a record-breaking 15-year, $765 million contract with the club this past offseason is slashing 246, 376, 439 with 8 homers and 20 RBI over 47 games thus far. Soto hasn't had a multi-hit game or hit a home run since May 9th, when he went 2 for 4 with a home run, 2 RBI, a walk, and a run scored in New York's 7-2 win over the Chicago Cubs. Additionally, the 5-time Silver Slugger has yet to notch a 3-hit game this year. All right, a little bit of a recap, I guess, about Juan Soto's slow start. Okay, this is where we get into the biggest news since the Yankees series ended. It says there was a disagreement between Soto and Mets manager Carlos Mendoza through the media after New York's loss to the Boston Red Sox on Monday. After not running hard for the second straight game, Soto's lack of hustle was noted by his manager. Quote, "We'll talk to him about it," Mendoza said. "In this ballpark, with that wall right there, you got to get out of the box. We'll discuss that." Pretty interesting answer here by Carlos Mendoza, because he made it sound Fenway specific when the night before he wasn't hustling at Yankee Stadium. And we talked about that a little bit. But, you know, I think the Yankee Stadium not hustle was a bit of a good defensive play. And in the heat of the moment, Juan Soto made a bad decision not to hustle out of the box on that one. And players are going to do this throughout the course of a season because, you know,
it's a judgment call.
It's 162 games. Yes, we as fans, we want to see players that are playing a game and being paid millions of dollars to do so. We want to see them hustling every single time out of the box. But in reality, these players are looking at this as a marathon and not necessarily a sprint all the time, including out of the batter's box. This is a tricky one for sure. So now where it gets even trickier is because Soto, disagreeing, told reporters, quote, "I think I've been hustling pretty hard. If you see it today, you could tell." So he is disagreeing with his manager, even though they're not in the same room with each other. They were asked the questions at separate times. I love how they word this sometimes as a disagreement, even though, like, when you think of people having a disagreement, it's like they're having words with each other, right?
In the same room.
But they're not
I know.
in this instance. And so the media really
Pushes the drama.
bolstering up those headlines.
Yeah.
All right, it says, following this public difference in opinions, Mendoza spoke on his star outfielder with reporters on Tuesday. So the following afternoon before Game 2, quote, "A lot of times frustrations are going to get the best of them, especially a guy like that. He's so talented and had so much success early in his career." He added, quote, "Right now he feels like maybe he can do a little bit more for the team, and that's part of it. At the same time, a guy like him, he wants to be challenged. He wants to be coached, and that's what makes him special." And that's the end of that article, Nika. And that's kind of where we got to with this story. Juan Soto went 1 for 3 last night and had a walk. The Mets lost. That was their 4th loss in the last 5 games against the Yankees and now the Red Sox. And that's kind of where this story has ended up. Oh, there is one more little slide. It says Soto will have an opportunity to get back on track when the Mets play Game 2 of their 3-game set against the Red Sox on Tuesday night at Fenway Park in Boston. And as I just told you, he did not necessarily.
It's still East Coast. They're still gonna scrutinize every single thing you do.
100%.
Boston, New York, it doesn't really matter. But I just think you just let Juan Soto be Juan Soto, and he will figure it out.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything to be overly alarmed about,
No.
and I think there's a lot of overreacting going on here. First of all, I could care less if he ever gets on the mic in the middle of a game and talks to the ESPN Sunday Night Baseball crew like it's his job. I don't think that's his job. I think his job is to go out and hit the baseball for the Mets because they didn't pay him that much money for his fielding skills or his base running skills.
No, just hitting mostly.
I think the hustling thing is always going to eat you alive in a major media market like New York or Chicago. And I guess I feel like his manager should jump the gun a little bit Monday night and should have just defended him more. And I think he came out Tuesday and was a little bit more defensive for Juan Soto and did him a little bit better of a job. But look, this is not going anywhere. This is a 15-year contract.
Yep.
And I guess I'm even surprised at how short the honeymoon has lasted with the media, especially because, in February, every one of these knuckleheads would have been like cheering out of their pants if their team signed Juan Soto. If the Mets, maybe February is a bad time
April,
because he was already signed.
Yes.
But, in November when free agency
before.
was open and everyone was jockeying for position and Soto was interviewing with teams, like all of these broadcasters, everybody that's writing about this would have been jumping for joy over Juan Soto getting signed by the Mets. And so to now take this attitude less than 8 weeks into the start of it all, it seems a little bit premature.
I think they didn't do their homework enough. They should have listened to our podcast, watched the Soto performance on the Padres, and draw conclusions from that.
I mean, yeah, I think Soto had his best season when he played hitting in front of Aaron Judge. And
He did.
Ultimately, I think he got bad advice from his agent and from the people around him about, you're talking about what, supposedly $5 million less they offered him, $760. And I know it was another year, but I don't get, and supposedly now the Mets didn't offer the most money. That's coming out. So
really? That's
it just makes me
interesting.
wonder, like, what was the actual plan here,
Well,
or
either-
what was talked about behind
Okay.
closed doors? Because
Or what was happening with the Yankees that he decided not to go ahead and sign with them? Like, was there some kind of a friction internal?
doesn't seem like it over the weekend, does it?
It doesn't. But we don't know.
We don't. Absolutely not.
It could be all window dressing at this point.
It could be.
Just
Or-
because Aaron Judge and Chisholms and Soto are friends doesn't mean internally there's some friction.
Well, I want to ask you right now, do you think that Juan Soto is going to be even in the MVP conversation this year?
Ooh, maybe if he turns it around. He's got time.
It's early, but I think it's one of those things where it becomes a PR campaign almost right from the beginning of the season. And when you already have this crowded race, you have Ohtani, you even have like guys like Kyle Schwarber making a case. You have Kyle Tucker, Pete Crow Armstrong, Fernando Tatis Jr., Corbin Carroll. Like, where do you fit in? You got to leapfrog almost.
You got to show something special to leapfrog all these other players.
You do.
And Juan Soto hasn't shown that this season. Not yet.
Not yet. And, the Mets are feeling it.
Of course.
They are,
They want instant gratification. I don't blame them.
Nobody blames them.
Nobody blames them. We live in the world of instant gratification.
Nobody blames them. But, they're falling. 29 and 20. They were right there with the Padres, and now they're just 9 games over 500. So not 10 anymore, just like the Padres have been doing. And yeah, we're gonna see where it goes.
We'll have to see. Yeah.
I don't know exactly where to leave this conversation, I guess, now, but I look at I just look at the Soto situation as like we talked about a lot of this in the past, and we were kind of, I don't know. I think we're ready to be done with Juan Soto.
I think so. If there's an update, we can always bring something as an update. As of right now, the story is just that.
It's drama at its highest level for the media, and there's really nothing that's being impacted on the field right now.
Right.
Except for the base running and the hustling, I guess. But like I said, I think that's a big whole-ado about nothing.
Yes.
And again, once he starts hitting the ball, this will all go away. You saw how Devers started the season.
Yeah, that's a good point.
He was totally distracted by the position change and struggling, and he turned it around, and he's having a great time now with the green monster mask and everything. So